Command codes verified. Priority 1 message from Starfleet coming in on secured channel.
Hello, captains, and welcome to the live broadcast recording of episode 517 of Priority One, a Roddenberry Star Trek podcast. Roscoe, Kat, can you guys say something? I just want to make sure that your audio is coming through.
Hello.
Yeah, looks good.
Hello, testing.
Good.
Hope everyone's had a great week.
For whatever reason, whenever I take a week
Great to
off
have you
or
back.
something, I come back and everything's broken. But fortunately, it doesn't seem like that's the case today, which is amazing.
I didn't do it, all right? I didn't do it.
Woohoo! Thank you both for holding down the fort while I was away last week. It was a great show. I did assemble it and listen to it, so good work.
That is very kind. It is great to have you back.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
You know, what were you going to say, Kat?
We're not very good at the off-the-cuff remarks.
Look, let me be
Banter.
honest with you. I have never been. It's funny. I was talking to. So there's a lot going on in Cuba right now, and as you know, I'm Cuban American, first generation born here. My entire family comes from the island, and so I've been keeping a really close eye on it. Now, I'm not gonna get into the politics of it with you guys. I hope that if you see my social media posts, just do a retweet. Don't just like it. Do a retweet. Do a reshare. Because it's not about the politics. It's about the humanitarian crisis happening. Sure, politics are a result of are the catalyst for it, but that's not the point. Right now, the people of Cuba are suffering, and they're just 90 miles offshore. Not long ago, it was the weekend getaway for New Yorkers kind of thing. In doing so, I befriended somebody on Twitter a long time ago, actually. His name is Xander, and he followed me on Facebook. We followed each other on Facebook, and it was cool because he's also my age, young Cuban American, who does who does stand up comedy, film, and whatnot. And when all this happened, we were like, we should talk, we should get together, because I feel like we both were like, the conversation would just be us aggressively agreeing with each other, right? And so we did. And last week we got on and we talked about it. We talked about a lot of stuff. We talked about Cuba. We talked a lot about Star Trek. We talked about Priority One, and that we were mentioning about how the whole off the cuff thing. I suck at I hated public speaking, and I still do. I cannot. If I don't have a script, don't put me in front of a live audience and expect me to be on, because I suck at that. Even if I moderate a panel, I get real scared if I'm not prepared 100%.
Yeah, the word speaking is defined in the Macquarie Dictionary as the act of opening your mouth and allowing words to come out.
Right.
And I have always found that challenging in a public forum. But I've always enjoyed people who use that for that one, because for a while I remember in school when someone started their speech in the public speaking competition with whatever is defined in the dictionary as, and at the time we're all like, "Oh, that's really good.
Well,
wow,
that's deep.
wow,
That's deep.
that's great. That's deep. They've done research. They looked it up in the dictionary. Come on." So I feel your pain with the public speaking. Yep, for some reason or not. And I know I ramble on radio a lot, but that's easy. That's in a room. It's in a quiet room. It's just me. There's usually another person over there doing their thing, smiling politely, going, "Hey, you're doing great. What's he doing?"
The first time I moderated a panel at Vegas, I was scared. I went to bed at 9 o'clock the night before in Vegas. Can you believe this? In Vegas,
Wow.
the party capital of the world, right? One of the party capitals of the world. The night before, I forget what year that was and who was there, but I went to bed at I went to my room at 9. I stopped drinking that evening. I just went to bed because, and also it was a very early. Star Trek Online always seems to have the 10 a.m. freaking panel, which is unfortunately nobody goes to those because everybody's hungover. And I remember being real nervous. But it went fine. It went fine. I thought it went fine. I don't know. You
I'm
guys are
sure
the
it was nice.
I'm sure it was
Anyway.
great.
But anyway,
Early night sleep. That's always the case.
I mean, that just shows you were taking it seriously.
I was taking it hella serious. But yeah. All right, guys. Why don't we do a show? Let's talk about Star Trek.
Jamal
did you
in
guys
the
see
chat says, oh, sorry, Jamal in the chat says, so much effort not to say or and that's, I agree, Jamal.
Yeah.
That's always the challenge with public speaking. The best advice I ever got was try not to say try to say because means that you don't know what you're going to say next, as opposed to where you're searching for what you're going to say next. So you know what you're going to say, you're just looking for it. So that's the difference. Makes you sound so, oh yeah, it's a really good series, and I really like it, or I really enjoy the series and am looking forward to seeing more. So you're searching for the word as opposed to not knowing what you're going to say.
What I was
That's
taught.
the trick.
What I was taught is to wear a rubber band, and every time you did it, to snap it. That's what I was told.
I saw a politician do that at a press conference once, where I put up the microphone, and they've got the band snapping away to keep the nerves at bay. Everyone does it. But anyway, let's talk some Star Trek.
Let's talk some Star Trek. All right. I'm going to hit the big red button. 3. Well,
You are?
what?
You are? The big red button. I haven't heard that
I know.
ages.
It's so weird for me to say it. I'm going to hit the big red button in 3, 2, because now Riverside does the countdown. Some things are in my DNA now. But some things are just like ingrained. I'm going to, when I'm old and have Alzheimer's, I'm going to say to somebody, I'm going to press the big red button in 3, 2, and they're not going to know what I'm talking about. All right, so intro in 3, 2. This week on episode 517 of Priority One, the virtual becomes reality on the set of Discovery Season 4. Meanwhile, the Disco captains reflect on their past and future in the center seat on the bridge. In gaming news, Pahvo is under attack on the ground and orbit in the 3rd event campaign installment in Star Trek Online. Later, Dr. Robert Hurt shares the importance of the Hubble telescope's return. Hello, Captains. You're listening to episode 517 of Priority One, a Roddenberry Star Trek podcast. Your weekly recap and review of all the major news happening in the Star Trek multiverse. This episode was recorded on Tuesday, July 20th, and available for download or streaming on Friday, July 23rd at PriorityOnePodcast.com. I'm Elio.
I'm Kat.
And I'm Roscoe.
Guys, I can't wait to talk about Loki.
Yeah.
That took no time at all.
I know. I'm like, I feel like we should drink.
Not on this show,
Yeah.
but we're going to save it for after hours, at least a lot of the conversation. Because gee willikers, was that a good season. But
Thoroughly enjoyed it.
I kid. Anyway, we are, in fact, a Star Trek show, so we'll talk about Star Trek. Thank you guys for holding down the fort while I was away last week. It was a great episode, and thanks again.
Absolute pleasure.
No
Kat did
worries.
most of the work, and I was happy to diagnose you with the Levodian flu instead of the Pac-Led flu, because
Well,
the
you
Pac-Led
kept
flu makes you
changing
feel
it,
bad.
Roscoe. You kept changing it.
Levodian flu only lasts for 29 hours, so you're fine.
I see. Well, thank you both.
Is that
I'm
where
just
your
reading the
hands swell up?
Namtang.
Oh, it's a bit of a cold the Cardassians give you.
Namtang.
Oh,
All right, moving
I don't
on.
remember that one.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Roscoe.
All right. And as well as welcoming you, we want to welcome new listeners to the show as
That was
well.
a very
and we hope
weird. That was no. I'm sorry.
No? Cool.
Who are
It
you?
wasn't weird.
as
How
well
dare
as
you, sir?
welcoming
1 week
you-
back and
welcoming
you're already
who?
telling me what to do. Yeah, welcoming you. I'm talking to the listener. Welcome, as well as welcoming
Oh,
you
I see.
back, Elio.
All right, there we go.
As well as
All
let me
right,
try that again.
Yeah, go ahead. Give it another shot.
I'm like, while
Ah,
you do that,
see
I'm
that?
gonna go
See that?
see what the dogs are doing. I'll be
He's
right
back
back.
for a week. He's back for 1 day, and this is what we have to deal with. Crazy. You know. Started with the big red button. Yeah.
I did.
And as well as welcoming you back, Elio, we want to welcome new listeners to the show, and we hope you'll stay in touch. You see, this show is produced by a community of volunteers who donate their time and talents because, like you, they are passionate about what Star Trek is all about.
Captains, are you fast forwarding this introduction each and every week? Are you? Because if you are, you shouldn't. And you should seriously consider joining our production staff. We are in need of audio editors. We're in desperate need of somebody who is handy around social media that can help us continue to build our community and engage each and every week with various games and community questions and help us continue to maintain the connection that we've had for the last 10 years. We each have our responsibilities as volunteers, whether it's being an executive producer, an audio editor. And as volunteers, we're donating our time, which means that the more people we add to our crew, the easier it becomes to get tasks done. As they say, many hands make light work. So consider joining the team and lending your time and talents to producing this show. Just visit us over at PriorityOnePodcast.com Just visit us at PriorityOnePodcast.com, and up at the very top, there's a Join the Team button and a handy form that you can use to express your interest.
Is that me?
Yeah, but we can...
Did we do that before? Because we didn't do that last week.
I would just say this part. Did you guys do Bertholf last week? I don't remember.
No, we did not, because we thought we did it the week before, but...
All right, yeah, just read this part. Or if you find it.
Or if you find value in this podcast, consider supporting us financially by joining our Patreon family. Speaking of patrons, we'd like to welcome our... Wait a minute. Speaking of patrons, we'd like to welcome our latest supporter, Bertolf. Thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you.
Now, let's find out what's been happening in the Star Trek multiverse.
Awesome. Anybody doing the time at 5:45 is when intro ended, please.
Cat's on it.
I'm on it.
Thank you, Cat. All right. Do you want to just jump in and check it out?
Sure.
Let's do it. Oh, and thank you. Josh on YouTube says, you know what? That's it. I'm becoming a Patreon. I need after hours in my life.
Oh,
thank you, Josh.
Thank you. Hey, Josh,
Yeah,
you're good on social media, Josh. How about instead of becoming a patron, why don't you think about helping us with our social media stuff? That's a good way to get access to our
Josh.
To our
Why
behind
don't
the
you think
scenes
about
shit.
that?
Think about that, Josh.
Do it, Josh.
'Cause I
Do
know
it.
Jo-
You know
Josh,
you want to.
Like Josh always engages with me on Twitter and stuff, and so I know you're comfortable with it. I know you're comfortable with social media. If you want access to after hours,
That's another way to get access.
That's another way to get access, Josh. Listeners becoming crew members. It's not the first time. Come and join us.
That's how it happens.
It's really not. It's a lot of little tedious things, but it should be a message, Josh. Let's talk about it. If you're interested, shoot me a message. We can talk. It's not a 40-hour-a-week job or anything. That's not what we're looking for.
No, it's like 32, 33. It's fine.
300 hours. And same for anybody who's listening live too. You guys are great in supporting us each and every week that we go live. And if you've got a couple of hours to spare each week, and you think that you've got a good handle on social media, which is pretty much our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram account. It's just those three. Shoot me a message. I think everybody in here is at least I have a lot. Yeah, most of you I know how to get in touch with me, at least on Facebook and Twitter. So yeah. All right, let's do Trek It Out, shall we? Trek It Out is starting at the 8-minute mark. 8-minute mark. 3, 2. When that other Star franchise debuted their own serialized live-action television series on Disney+, critics not only raved about its story, but also about its cinematography. The Mandalorian which started streaming in 2019, showcased a new style of filmmaking that was absolutely breathtaking. You see, instead of having to find locations where to shoot, the production used a 360-degree LED wall to project in real time all the landscapes and effects needed for that scene. The end result, a creative and astonishing backdrop that really helped build that world. Now, everyone wants in. Not only does this technology save the time and resources it takes to shoot on location, but combined with the Unreal Engine, the video game creator Unreal Engine, actors can actually see and react to visual effects environments in real time. So now we can visit strange new worlds with much more ease, as Noah Cadner explains in his article for American Cinematographer.
According to Cadner, Star Trek Discovery Season 4 and the first season of Strange New Worlds have been filming using a 270-degree horseshoe-shaped LED wall by a company called Pixomondo.
Pixomondo.
I'm like, I did not say that right. According to Cadner, actually, let me try that again. According to Cadner, Star Trek Discovery Season 4 and the first season of Strange New Worlds have been filming using a 270-degree horseshoe-shaped LED wall by a company called Pixomondo, which can be fed real-time animations using Unreal Engine. Star Trek's lead visual effects supervisor, Jason Zimmerman, told Cadner, quote, "Getting something in camera on the day is so much better than green screen in many ways. One major difference in terms of workflow is that the production design and art departments are a lot more involved much earlier in the process because they have to get assets ready to be photographed instead of waiting until after the shoot," end quote. But the away teams from Strange New Worlds will be beaming down to realistic landscapes. The New Mexico Film Office announced this week the television series is using New Mexico landscapes for the show's visual effects. That's cool.
I mean, if you watch The Mandalorian, it's seamless. It's amazing how much they were able to world build. And I don't know if Loki used the same technology, but it's definitely a growing trend. I mean, the article talks about even Station 19, which is I think it's a Shonda Rhimes show on ABC, is starting to use the same technology, or at least a form of it as well. But not only is it cool, is the technology just cool, and the fact that as an actor, I can only imagine how much easier it is to play off of an actual monster being projected on a wall versus having to pretend in a green screen environment. That's awesome. But also, what I found interesting was Zimmerman's explanation that, it requires a lot of conversation and pre-planning, right? Which we shouldn't mince words about it. Star Trek the new Trek, Discovery's first 3 seasons, and even Picard, has lacked organization and cohesion. I mean, you listen to interviews by actors and other articles dealing with behind the scenes that are not clickbait, but actual from people who were boots on the ground. Perhaps this is an opportunity for production to just be more cohesive, be more streamlined. Maybe that'll reflect in the storytelling as well.
Yeah, we've certainly heard the discussions around some of the early Discovery episodes, the first season being an absolute roller coaster in terms of losing showrunners, replacing showrunners, so forth.
Early Discovery. Did you not read the article from Eagle Moss about that the hero ship at the end of Picard and how that was built?
You didn't share that with me.
Yeah, so in the Eagle Moss magazines, right? I forget the name of that ship. It's
Oh, the Inquiry class.
It's the Inquiry, but it's not called.
Yes.
It's the Inquiry in Star Trek Online, but that's not what it's called in.
Curiosity class.
No, it's got I think it's Chinese.
Oh, it's the Riker commanding the Zheng He. Yeah,
Zheng
and how
He.
they
Dang,
cut and,
hey.
Zheng
So
He and how they cut and paste. Yeah,
so
yeah.
so in the Eagle Moss release of the Zheng He, right, which is the big hero ship that Riker swoops in on at the end of season 1 of Picard, the story in that article is that they reached out in a very last minute rush. They reached out to John Eves. John Eves provided a couple of mock-ups that he already had, and then whoever was doing the visual effects did some modifications to try to make it look cool. Right? So that's why the ship doesn't have a deflector. It's just this grill at the end of it. Right? So these kinds of like last minute, oh my gosh, at visual effects changes, I'm hoping will change with the use of technology like this, right? Because now with this kind of technology, it's going to require that the writers talk to the visual effects team, that the director, cinematographer, that they all start to talk and plan ahead instead of showing up the day of filming and, you know, hoping for the best.
Yeah, but planning ahead also got us scenes like in Discovery Season 3, where there was a fight in the Discovery's TARDIS. So, you know, that there was planning that was involved in that. So I'm hoping that more cohesive planning and work that goes into the visual effects. The little addition, the little extra where the New Mexico film office announced that they're using landscapes for the show's visual effects was really interesting to me. So that why go through and build entire digital landscapes when you can go to realistic landscapes like places in New Mexico, shoot that, and then incorporate that into your visual effects. You don't need to build a realistic landscapes. You can go and send crews out to shoot that and then add the sci-fi twists that go up on the 270-degree screen. And I think that's clever because you're saving yourself a lot of work there, because we've heard from the wonderful guys at Star Trek Online about how much work goes into building backdrops and building those enormous scenes and to make them look as realistic as possible. Why do that when you can just go and shoot actual landscapes and give them a sci-fi twist? That's clever. And so I'm hoping that a lot more clever workflows and clever filmmaking comes in season 4 of Discovery and in Strange New Worlds. What do you think, Kat?
I was going to say they did that in Discovery because they used the landscapes from, was it Iceland, for that frozen planet? So they have been doing that in these shows, but it does make it look, you know, that much more realistic because that's a real place, and, you know, you can add extra stuff and, you know, flying worms or whatever to make it sci-fi. So, I mean,
But I guess
it
the
all
difference...
looks great, though. I mean, it looks, because it looks authentic.
I guess the difference between shooting in Iceland and Discovery and using New Mexico is that when they shot in Iceland, they went and shot on location, whereas in Strange New Worlds, they're working under a lot of COVID restrictions, so it makes sense to send a crew that is in a bubble to go out, shoot that for visual effects, and bring that back to the bubble in the 270-degree screen. So that, from a practical standpoint and from a COVID practicality standpoint, makes a bit more sense.
We can go on to the next story.
Nice.
You know what? I want to save this one for last.
Okay.
That's a good idea.
You're next, then. Let's go.
No, because he just had the last word. So Cat can take it.
So Elio is next.
Actually, Cat.
Or Cat.
Okay. All right. Michael Burnham meets Bugs Bunny. Wait, is this a crossover episode? No. Sonequa Martin Green plays LeBron James's wife in the Space Jam sequel, and right now, Martin Green is on the promo circuit. Oh, hold on. She plays LeBron's wife. I have not seen this, but oh
I have
Lord.
not seen it either.
All right. I'm not going to go into my issues with LeBron, but whatever. Michael Burnham meets Bugs Bunny. Is this a crossover episode? No. Sonequa Martin Green plays LeBron James's wife in the Space Jam sequel, and right now Martin Green is on the promo circuit talking about the animated adventure. But the good folks at Collider and Gizmodo couldn't help but ask some questions about But the good folks at Collider and Gizmodo couldn't help but ask some questions about Discovery Season 4 and what the future holds for Captain Burnham. According to Martin Green, filming for Season 4 is almost complete with only a little bit left to shoot. She emphasized the importance of cementing her new position as captain, particularly... Damn it, words being hard to say. She emphasized the importance of cementing her new position. Dang it.
More gin.
I know, I'm gonna have to get it.
Waiter, can we get a refill on that table over there? Thank you.
Seriously. She emphasized the importance of cementing her new position as captain, particularly the importance of having a black woman in the role. But she was tight-lipped about what's to come, telling Gizmodo it's going to be about finding out who she is as captain, as Michael Burnham. Quote, because there's always been this question of who I am in this moment. Who am I in this role? And now I'm going to have to answer those questions for myself as captain because everything is different now, and we've got a huge threat coming our way. End quote.
Meanwhile, at the Hall of Justice. Sorry, couldn't help it.
Wonder Twins, activate.
Meanwhile, Doug Jones reflected on Captain Saru and his journey through Discovery Season 3. Meanwhile, Doug Jones reflected on Captain Saru and his journey through Season 3 of Discovery. Jones sat in the captain's chair for almost the entirety of Season 3, something Jones believes was a dream of the character, but not necessarily the actor. It meant a lot more time in the makeup chair. Quote, I was on more days on Season 3 than ever before, but the honor and the gravity of it was not lost on me. That put me in a very small handful of actors who have played captains in Star Trek, and even a bigger honor that I was the first non-human alien creature to take a captaincy of a titled ship, and even a bigger honor that I was the first non-human alien creature to take a captaincy of a titled ship. That was a really big deal for me, especially as a geeky boy who played a lot of rubber animals and creatures over these years. End quote. Jones goes on to talk about adding new cast members to the series, particularly his joy at working with Bill Irwin, who played Su'Kal, as each actor had been a fan of the other for quite some time. Season 4 of Discovery was filmed under COVID restrictions, and thanks to a few stops and starts, has taken an extra few months to film than previous seasons. However, Jones doesn't see the measures as restrictive. Quote, I think that's what Star Trek helps us realize, that the situation can be different if you perceive it differently. So you can look at it as restrictions, or you can look at it as enablement. I'm going to look at this as it's enabling us to get the job done, to stay employed, and to keep the production running. End quote. For the full interviews, check out our show notes.
I don't have anything to say about it. If you guys don't, we can move on to the next story.
Yep.
All good.
All right. Well, we'll finally get to see LeVar Burton take his turn in the guest host role on Jeopardy next week, and many of his friends, including Brent Spiner and Gates McFadden, have continued lobbying efforts to get him to that full-time gig. McFadden told ShowbizJunkies.com, quote, I think he would be superb. I think he is born to do it. He's perfect, end quote. Spiner added, quote, I can't think of anyone more qualified than he is. LeVar has proven himself as a host, an educator, a personality, and this and that. He's a very smart guy with a really great personality, which I think is key for the job. He's got all of the qualities, end quote. You should definitely check out the full article for this story because it recaps both of McFadden and Spiner's careers, Plus, they tell us their favorite TNG director, and they give us an update on their latest ventures. As we've previously reported on this very podcast, McFadden is currently hosting the podcast Gates McFadden Investigates. Who do you think you are? While Spiner, who we'll see in a second season of Picard, has written a novel called Fan Fiction, a meme noir, inspired by true events. Also, don't forget to watch Jeopardy next week to see LeVar Burton. Ooh, man, I am so excited to watch that.
Get those Nielsen ratings up. Everybody watch it.
Yes.
Set your
I mean, you can
TiVos
watch
if
it
you still got
online,
'em.
right? I know. I'm like, how do you watch it? Is it NBC? ABC. ABC.
I genuinely don't know how to watch it in Australia, and I'm fairly certain it's going to take some time for new episodes to come to Australia of Jeopardy. So I shall
Surely
wait
that
and
has
see.
like big distribution. I mean, you would think you'd get that. I don't know. I'm gonna look it up for you.
Thank you so much.
Star Trek Discovery Season 3 is coming to Blu-ray. Blu-ray. Star Trek Discovery Season 3 is coming to Blu-ray with several special... Ay, Dios mío, pero estoy que... Special features. My Spanish came through there a little bit. My accent.
Keep it going, man. I love it.
Star Trek Discovery Season 3 is coming to Blu-ray with... Jesus Christ. What's wrong with me?
Several
special features on... Fourth time's a charm.
Drink. You need a drink, man. Waiter, can we get another refill over here, but this time at Elio's table? Thank you.
Star Trek Discovery Season 3 is coming to Blu-ray with several special features, and StarTrek.com showcased one last week. Dedicated to Kenneth Mitchell, the featurette showcases Mitchell's various roles on these latest iterations of Trek, and of course, addresses his ALS diagnosis. It's an incredibly moving segment with commentary from his fellow actors and crewmates. So, even if you don't get the Blu-ray, be sure to watch this.
Oh man, thank you. I cried my eyes out. It was so touching and so moving, and wow. I mean, everyone, I did not realize that Kenneth Mitchell played 4 characters in Discovery, and that's amazing. And yeah, now that they showed me which characters he was, you're like, oh, I see that. But what an amazing talent he has.
Just the work that goes into acting and emoting when you are covered in plastic is amazing. And the consideration that you can see in those little moments behind the scenes where he's gesturing and he's tilting his head and he's doing all of these things that we don't notice because it's all part of the performance. You can lose yourself in that performance because he's so good. The work and the effort and the thought and the consideration that goes into all of that, it's wonderful. It just shows how talented he is, and that it makes sense to see how hard the Discovery team worked to get him into season 3 in a purpose-built wheelchair, to have him on screen again, because he's so much a part of that team. It's really wonderful. So yeah, thank you for sharing that this morning, Elio. And I also needed just a minute or two because it was rough.
And
I know, I watched it.
We've talked about how disorganized we've talked about how disorganized the production of new Trek seems to have been throughout its course, but this is a moment that we need to pay attention to, right? The fact that his diagnosis didn't stop them from rehiring him to continue to work, and then later, as you mentioned, and they mentioned in the video, constructing a device that would allow him to continue to act on screen. Right? We saw him in season 3 of Discovery. He was the scientist that was helping the Orion woman. It's not often that you see that kind of support and dedication from higher ups. to this day.
Yeah, that was actually the nicest thing I've heard anyone say about Kurtzman was
Right.
in that featurette was to point out Kurtzman's loyalty and integrity and, making sure that he had a job.
Right. So credit where credit is due. That's an excellent. That's a really good example of the definition of Star Trek, right? That it doesn't matter who you are or what might make you different, that you still have a place in this world, in this universe. So yeah, that's the honestly the one of the brightest examples of Trek that I've seen from the production, which is incredibly honorable and admirable. And I'm glad that Kenneth Mitchell was able to solidify his place in the ethos of Star Trek with not just 1, 2, but 4 different roles. I mean, that's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And he's talking about, the legacy he's leaving for his kids.
I'm
crying my eyes out. I'm just like, wow, this is so good.
Yeah, and the fact that the team worked to have him on screen in season 3 in a role that didn't require prosthetics, so that he could do it and do it well, and so they could see his face. Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Okay, I needed a minute after that, so I highly recommend, if you have some time, to watch this featurette and have a box of tissues handy, because there's some moments.
All right, Kat, why don't you sweep us out?
Well, captains, that's all the news we have to check out this week. Now let's find out what happened in the world of Star Trek gaming.
3015, please. 3015.
So do you hit the big red button at the start of every segment?
No, so what we used to do, we used to have Audacity, or Audacity Audition running on our respective machines. And so just before every segment, I would count us down and say, all right, I'm going to hit the big red button in 3, 2, 1, and then we'd all try to do it, at the same time. And then in post-production, we'd have to try to, we'd do our best to line it up. And thankfully,
I know. I used to put it together.
You were there.
Oh,
yeah.
Were you editing already at that point?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Okay. I couldn't remember if you were...
Was I here when it was all out of sync and having to put it all together?
Yeah, okay.
Oh, I think I remembered that.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Every now and then I wake up with a fever dream going, Darcy! Why is he talking now?
Fever dream.
It doesn't make sense. No, that's fine. It's great. It's great.
Oh,
what a
man.
beautiful time that was.
That's funny. A fever dream. I have
Man,
fever
you guys
dreams.
are troopers.
Look, Riverside has made it so much easier.
Respect to my audio editing peeps. Doing
Indeed.
a fine job every single week.
Indeed. All right.
That is, in fact, for those in the chat, another way in which you can volunteer and add
and
to
support.
the production of Priority One.
If
So
you happen
if
to
you
know how to
love
edit.
editing some audio,
If you happen
it
to know how to
won't
edit
give
audio.
you nightmares now.
It
It is less inclined to give you nightmares.
Yes.
It may give you nightmares for different reasons.
Oh my
So,
god, this is like
be part of
PlayStation
the team.
automobiles. My jacket's caught on my seat.
You're going the wrong way.
My
That's
jacket
not
got
a pillow, man.
Where's your other hand? Between two pillows. Those aren't pillows. I think that's one of. I can quote that movie like the back of my hand, and I can quote The Matrix. Those are the two movies that I can quote.
Where's
the
your
back of my
ticket?
hand.
I threw it.
That movie,
away.
though.
Oh my
made
God, Roscoe,
me-
you know it too? Yeah.
Nice.
There's so
What,
much.
are you kidding?
Oh
It's
yeah.
an amazing movie.
That movie made me laugh so hard. It's one of the funniest movies
Oh my God,
ever.
it's great. It's great. And you know what's
That
not?
and
Sell
Dirty
shower
Rotten-
curtain
Dirty
rings
Rotten
as
Scoundrels.
earrings.
Oh, what?
What happened? What was that?
They sell shower curtain rings as earrings. It's beautiful.
They
To make
helium,
money.
so they make it lighter. They make it lighter.
It's like they're in helium.
Lighter.
They got helium. Oh, Dirty Rottens, yeah. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Dirty Rotten Scoundrels.
So
Yeah,
good.
just Just magic.
You know what's not bad as a Planes, Trains, and Automobiles remake, so to speak? What's not a bad one is Tommy Boy. It's got a lot of a very similar dynamic between David Spade and Chris Farley. That it's also I recently rewatched it and I was like, you know what? Yeah, this is, if for whatever reason I can't watch Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, this is an okay substitution. But no, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles just hands down. The scene at the car dealership, I know like the back of my hand. I won't.
So good.
You can start by wiping that fracking dumbass smile off your rosy fracking cheeks.
Threw it
Secondly,
away.
you can give me a fracking automobile, a frickin' Datsun, a frickin' Toyota, a frickin' Mustang, a frickin' Buick, 4 frickin' wheels and a seat. I really don't care for the way you're speaking to me. And I really don't care for the way your company left me in the middle of frickin' nowhere with frickin' keys to a freaking car that isn't frickin' there. And I really didn't care to walk across a highway and across a freaking runway to get back here and watch you smile at my frickin' face. I want a frickin' car right frickin' now. May I see your rental agreement? I threw it away. Oh boy. Oh boy, what? You're fucked. Told you. I'm going to do that monologue in an audition.
I just want to say thank you for coming along to the audition today and for providing that monologue. That's the modern piece. What's the classical piece that you'll be performing?
The classical piece? I don't know. All right. It's going to be... Actually, you know what I did do a monologue of? I did... what's-his-face's monologue from Battlestar Galactica once for class.
Wait, Adama?
No, not Adama's. Have you ever seen a star go supernova? I have. With these ridiculous cow eyes. What's his name? The Quantum Leap guy. What's his character's name?
Dean Stockwell.
Yeah.
He was the first Cylon, right?
Something like that, yeah.
The one.
All right, enough diddle-daddling, I guess. Sorry.
Josh in the chat saying the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie are movies that he can quote. Respect.
Oh, respect.
There we go.
I can only quote Princess Bride.
All
Oh,
right.
and Dumb and Dumber.
All right, so Stowe News at 36 on the dot. 36 on the dot. All right.
Dumb and Dumber.
2.
I'm from Austria. Good eye, mate.
Who's reading this first piece? I don't see. Is it just...
Oh, I didn't put a red by. How about...
Why don't you start, Kat, and then we'll break it up here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Throw it around. We'll have some fun with it.
Excellent. Stop licking me. Sorry, that's my cat. All right. Just earlier today, Star Trek Online released details on the third installment of the event campaign, where players can participate in a series of campaigns to earn the grand prize, which is your choice of a lockbox or promo ship. The Defense of Pahvo event starts on July 27th for PC and will run for 3 weeks before concluding, and then Xbox and PlayStation will be able to participate starting probably in September, though they did not confirm an actual date. Once the campaign starts, players will be able to earn daily progress once every 20 hours by completing either Pahvo Dissension, which is a ground TFO, or Peril over Pahvo, the space TFO. Though a few minor adjustments have been made, such as every time you complete the TFOs, you will be rewarded a choice of all marks, which replaces the usual mark rewards. And then both TFOs have had their cooldown timers temporarily disabled, and then they have also been I can't even say the word. Both TFOs have also been temporarily removed from random TFO eligibility.
As with previous events, players can still use their old event tokens to apply towards this event. For the specific event, once you earn a total of 14 days worth of daily progress, you can claim the following rewards: Console, Universal, Crystal, Prism, and it's account-wide reward. Once earned, every character on your account will be able to claim this unique universal console featuring a charge-driven design that allows for a rapid creation of multiple energy conductive prisms in space. This console is purposefully meant to emulate the popular kit module of the same name, allowing players to build networks of damage-dealing crystal prisms in formations of their own choosing. Each prism that is placed in space will automatically attack nearby enemy starships, inflicting psychic damage upon their crews and tearing apart their hulls with... Each prism that is placed in space will automatically attack nearby enemy starships, inflicting psychic damage upon their crews and tearing apart their hulls with telekinetic energies. The damage inflicted by each prism in a connected group is increased based on the number of other network prisms, allowing for an incredibly high ceiling on such a cluster's overall potential for rending into their foes.
Kat, why don't you read
Other
this
awards? Yeah.
All right. Oh man, I love that kit module. I can't wait for a space module, but we'll get to that in just a second. Other rewards include 3 times featured TFO reward boxes. So when you claim these, this is for your character that you claim it on. So a character only reward of those reward boxes, which give you a choice of a specialization point or an enhanced universal tech upgrade. And then 25,000 dilithium ore. Again, one character claim only.
So this is all kind of boilerplate, periodic event, right? Like there's nothing really big that they've changed here. Do they normally remove event TFOs from the random TFO eligibility? Is that a normal thing?
They missed it on one and everyone was pretty unhappy about it. So yeah, they do normally remove them because so many people are playing them so often. That's the only thing that comes up in random. So they take it out of the rotation so that you have to pick it, to play it. Otherwise, everyone's just playing it all the time and you won't get anything else.
Got it. Okay.
And the fact that they have removed it from the cooldowns have been disabled. If they'd kept the random there, that's all you would play. Yeah.
All right, guys. Nuts. So I have an idea I want to propose to you.
Go on.
I have an idea for a storyline in Star Trek that Star Trek Online could put together. I'm talking about a reverse Marvel Cinematic Universe Loki multi-dimensional time travel event.
Drink.
As Al retweeted
Mention
back
Loki,
at me,
drink.
Crisis on Infinite Treks. Okay, that's what Al responded to me on Twitter. So, like many of you, I'm sure, I finished Loki. I've actually rewatched the season. That's how much I enjoyed it. That I just rewatched it over the last couple of days. And I mean, one of the reasons that I enjoyed it was how it handled multi-dimensional time travel, right? How almost simple it was able to explain its plot, almost like an old TNG story and Treknobabble, like it was accessible. I was like, you know what? I can get behind this. I don't know diddly squat about physics and quantum mechanics, but you know what? This makes sense. And then I got to thinking, all right, what if Star Trek applied this type of storytelling to itself? Now, in season 3 of Star Trek Discovery, we learn that time travel is forbidden post-temporal Cold War, right? But what if the results of the temporal Cold War are that all the timelines remerged into one prime timeline? We've been calling TNG and TOS and prime timelines, right? But even that's like shaky and iffy. But what if we got a story arc like the Iconians in Star Trek Online, where we are temporal agents, and our job is to bring in, and take care of these random Nexus events that have happened in Star Trek mythos to then bring it back together into one prime timeline. Heads.
Who's
What
your
about
bad
the
guy?
mirror? I'm like, but what about the mirror universe? That's a parallel universe, not a branching timeline.
Look, I didn't say I was a writer. I just said that this would be a good idea. This would be something
Ah.
interesting to explore.
Oh, okay. I mean, but that could exist as a parallel universe. You could still converge the Kelvin and Prime, I guess. Just because.
Who's your bad guy? Who's the one pulling the strings and
Malcolm
trying to
McDowell?
disrupt the timeline?
Well, so I was thinking to myself, all right, how would
Mm.
this translate? How would this translate into like existing Trek? And I wonder if the Q continuum, do they exist independently in each multi-dimension, time travel, right?
Point.
Or
Ooh.
is it just one Q for all? Like they can. It's kind of like the nut monsters in Rick and Morty. Right?
Yeah,
Like it's
my thought would be, not that, but that the queue exists. Not that there are multiple iterations of the queue. The queue simply exists, and they exist across all timelines.
Right.
That is an existence of the queue, separate to Prime timeline, Kelvin timeline, and so on and so forth.
Right, so it's one Q for the infinite dimensions.
Because that's why they're so powerful, because they can exist across infinite dimensions because they're the queue.
But this could be interesting gameplay. I think that Star Trek Online has always demonstrated its incredible writing styles when it doesn't constrict itself to whatever's happening on New Trek, right? I mean, when some of the best Star Trek Online stories have been taking old obscure episodes and building upon it, right? Giving it life and breath and filling in holes and expanding on that story. So let's let's stop rushing to get the new hotness from what's on screen into the game. Whatever, throw it in a lockbox, and if people want to pay for it, let them pay for it, and they get their shiny television screen accurate rifle, whatever. But maybe let's just tell a different story. Let's just let's get back to storytelling.
You could have a Q Civil War TFO. And it's a ground TFO.
No,
that's
man, no
set
TFOs.
During the American
I want
Civil War.
story.
I know that, but you've got to have the TFOs to go along with it.
Fine, then we get the TFO with it. But
Talk to Al.
I miss
Al
the
will tell you
Iconian
this.
days.
Ground
I thought
TFO.
they were doing that though with the Klingon Civil War. That's an independent storyline. I mean, it did build on existing and new Trek, but there's plenty of other stuff out there that doesn't have to build on that.
So, inspired by the Voyager episode, The Q and the Grey, you have a ground TFO that's set during the American Civil War. But you bring phasers to a Q fight.
Phasers
Sold.
Q fight.
There you go, Al. I'll take 10%.
I don't know. That was just an idea, something to help. Think back on those story days of Stowe, and when events weren't just about TFOs, and that we were getting missions, and the story was exploring aspects of Trek that had never been explored before.
One of the things the Trek novels do...
Wait, why did you just sigh at me like that, Kat?
Because we're all listening
I
to you.
wasn't sighing at you. I was sighing because there's so many opportunities for, other stories, even short, like you go to visit the planet, you have a story mission you complete there, and then you can do the main storyline or whatever. I wish they had more independent, standalone things you could do in the game that didn't necessarily need a full arc. It was just like, hey, you just did a mission with Quark, like Quark's Lucky 7. That's a great mission. Why can we have other stuff like that? it doesn't have to be, weeks and months in development. If there were a series of those, explore other areas of the map, go to different systems, do something else.
Right.
One of the fun things that the Trek novels do, is they take characters and save them, resurrect them. And there's a Enterprise storyline which saves Trip. They beam him out at the last moment in the finale before he dies, and put him to work for Section 31. I haven't read it yet. It's on my list, but I think the person that you are interacting with in your temporal arc could be Trip Tucker, because they've pulled him out of the timeline at that moment to help save the universe, because only his engineering skills, for whatever reason, is the thing that will save the galaxy, the universe, the timeline.
Why not?
And then you get Connor Trinier into Star Trek Online, another Trek actor on the screen. I'm also looking forward to, I think they should do, and I know you love a TFO. Here's an idea for a TFO. Okay. It's the Packled TFO from Lower Decks, and you have to fight off the Packlids. Yes. Otherwise, they pull apart your ship. Crunch, crunch, crunch.
Yeah, all right, fine. But again, that's just flashy.
What
like,
a great TFO.
It's the screen. It's, as a TFO, that's fine. I don't want to go too far.
Dismissive.
I'm not dismissive. It's a fun idea, but I just don't want TFOs. Yeah. I want a story. That's why folks like me and Josh in the chat want play Star Trek Online, is for the story.
Yeah, I do think.
Go ahead. You can finish it.
Yeah, I think I would like more content. I mean, not that I'm complaining about the quality of the content, and I know they put a lot of work into it, but I would like an increased frequency in good work like that. So maybe they could, bump up the schedule or have more of it more frequently.
Well, that's the news from Trek Games this week. Now, let's look up to the final frontier with an astrometrics report by Dr. Robert Hurt. All right, that ended at 50:38. Please.
Thanks, Dr. Robert.
Thanks, Dr. Robert.
I only can think of that Beatles song, which we can't sing here because of copyright.
All right. Let's do closing. So actually at the 51-minute mark on the dot. 51 minute. Well, that wraps up.
We don't have any feedback. Yeah. Sorry.
Well, that wraps up episode 517 of Priority One, a Roddenberry Star Trek podcast. But there are more great shows available to you on the Roddenberry Podcast Network. Just visit podcasts.roddenberry.com for a complete list. Then be sure to subscribe to them all and share them with your friends.
And we can't forget to send a special thanks to some of our Patreon supporters like David K. Rutley, Peter Archibald, and Gerald Bosch.
Captains, it's important to us that you get your voice heard and that you participate in the conversation. Leave us a comment on our website at priorityonepodcast.com, on our Facebook page at facebook.com/priorityonepodcast, or find us on Twitter and Instagram at priorityonepod.
And if you're still craving more, be sure to spend time with Winters, Anthony, Thomas, Gray, me, plus the rest of the Priority One Armada. Saturday nights, the Armada broadcasts live to review the latest news from Star Trek Online and the Armada community, including spotlighting some of our amazing members. With regular giveaways, there's something for all Stowe players, whether you're new or a veteran. Follow us on all our social media accounts for broadcast times, and if you'd like to join the Armada, visit PriorityOneArmada.com.
This episode of Priority One is brought to you by our patrons through Patreon.com. During these difficult times, we are humbled by the continued support of our patrons who find value in the content that we produce each and every week. Find out how you can support this show by visiting patreon.com/Priority One.
And don't forget to tune into Priority One Productions' Guard Frequency podcast at guardfrequency.com. Each episode, the Guard will take you inside the universe of your favorite space sim, including a tabletop adventure played out by your hosts. And Heroes Rise brings you up to date with the world of Dungeons and Dragons. Learn all about the latest publications, tools, tips, tricks, and traps in less time than it takes to skin a wyvern. Head over to heroesrisepodcast.com to discover their secrets.
Thanks to our audio editors, including Gray, Brandon, William, Daniel, Rand, Alex, and Lennon. Thanks to our producer, Jake, and associate producers, Shane and Thomas. Together, they help us organize and write up our summary of the weekly headlines from the Star Trek multiverse. Thanks to our graphic artist, Alejandro, with support from Jason of the Priority One Armada. Thanks to the composer of our theme music, Chris Watts. But most importantly, a big thanks to you, the Star Trek community, our listeners, because without your ongoing support, none of this would be possible. All right. No, Dave, nobody from Priority One is going to be going to Vegas this year for a number of reasons.
No.
One is that, first and foremost, the importance is that health concerns, even, there are people who are not getting vaccinated, which puts others at risk, number one. Number two is that even if we were all vaccinated, we didn't get vaccinated until, people still are getting vaccines. And if they did, they only got them, 3 months ago, maybe earlier this year, right? So that allows for little flexibility in planning for a trip out to Vegas. So no, nobody from Priority One is going to be there. I know that Roddenberry is going to be there. John Champion is going to be there from Mission Log, and Rod is going to be there. They're going to have the Roddenberry stage, but it's too last minute, with the vaccines having just been starting to roll out, at least here in the United States. It's way too short notice for a very expensive trip, very, very expensive trip. But we have, we are slated to attend the Edison convention happening in Edison, New Jersey, the sci-fi summit that Creation is doing on the East Coast. So we are listed as guests. I don't know if you guys, I should have shared. I have to share that on social media. Nerdist had made the announcement that Roddenberry, that Sue and Kennedy and I will be in attendance for the convention in Edison, and that's happening in September. So if you are in the East Coast and are free, September 10th through the 12th, I believe it was, or 12th to the 14th. I don't remember.
That sounds right. I think 10th
just,
through the 12th.
I just sent you the link, and now I don't. Here, I put the link in the chat.
And Jason Smith, I'm with you. My borders are closed for Australia, so yeah, not going anywhere.
Well, my understanding is that the borders on Canada just opened up, didn't they? Or they're about to, like in the next week or so. I thought it was
if
like August 1st.
If you're vaccinated, I believe.
Right. If
yes.
you're vaccinated. So as much as I would love to go, no, actually I don't. I really don't like Vegas. But it's cool to hang out. It's cool to be a part of that community. But it just doesn't look like it. And for me, I definitely can't, because our office is moving to another building, and it happens to be that weekend. So there's no way I can take off. So FOMO. I'm gonna be feeling that FOMO, as the young kids say. But anywho, that's a wrap for this episode. Thank you all for joining us this evening. I saw some new names. Ethan Long. Hi, Ethan.
Hello, Ethan. Yeah, thanks, y'all. Thanks, Jamal, for calling me a Bond villain. That's awesome.
Why are you a Bond villain?
Only sometimes.
It's the backdrop, man. It's so good.
Backdrop, right.
So good.
Yeah.
that and the new. I think the glasses, because they're a little bit reflective. They're nice and bright, dark background. They pop.
All right, we're gonna go off and talk about Loki for After Hours. So I'm really excited about.
If you'd
that.
like to listen to that, join our Patreon. Get access to After Hours.
Yeah. Or be a part of the team, and then I can share the files with you.
Yeah.
We need a social media person. All right, guys. Until next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Good night, everybody.
Have a great week. Night.
Bye, y'all.